Hi, third grade. It's me, Miss Belts, and we're going to work on math some more. So I hope you are excited. Let's get started. Today we are going to start something new with me, but something you've already done in class. We are going to represent and solve one-step multiplication problems within 100 using arrays, strip diagrams, and equations. How are we going to do this? Well, we're going to represent a word problem with a strip diagram. We're going to represent a word problem with an equation. We're going to represent a word problem with an array. And then we're going to solve the word problem using our strip diagram, array, and equation. Why are we going to do this? Well, it's important to be able to visualize a word problem in many different ways. So let's look at our vocabulary. We have 3 vocabulary words we are going to talk about today. The first one is multiplication. Remember, multiplication can be solved in many different ways. One way is with repeated addition. So in this example, we had 3 plus 3 plus 3. Or we could do 4 times 3. Now remember, it's very important that you remember that this X or multiplication sign means groups of. So every time you see it, you're going to say 4, or every time you see it, you're going to say groups of. So for this example, it's 4 groups of 3. And we have 4 groups of 3, which gives us 12. So when we multiply, we're combining equal groups. Our next word is array. An array is when we organize objects in equal rows and columns. So it makes this pretty picture, and it usually is with a picture, but it's equal rows and equal columns. Our last word we're going to look at is strip diagram. And when we have a strip diagram, it's a visual to represent a problem. So this strip diagram is showing us the same thing that this multiplication sentence over here is showing us. We are looking for a total amount, and we have 4 groups of 3. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and there are 3 inside of each one. And that helps me to figure out what I am looking for. So let's get started. Here is our first example. Here's what it says. Sally has 3 boxes. Each box has 8 books inside it. How many books does she have in total? So the very first thing I do when I have a word problem is I read it again and I figure out what the important information is. So I'm going to do that. Sally has 3 boxes. That's pretty important. I'm going to highlight it. Each box has 8 books inside it. Well, that's pretty important to know also, so I highlighted it. How many books does she have in total? Well, that's what I'm looking for, so I'm going to highlight it. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a strip diagram. Now, thinking about our vocabulary words, what is a strip diagram? That's right, a strip diagram is a visual that helps us to figure out what we're doing. So let's think about this. I have 3 boxes. There's 8 in each box. And I'm trying to figure out how many books she has in all. So this is what my strip diagram is going to look like. Here are my 3 boxes. 1, 2, 3. How many are going to go inside of each box? If you said 8, you are correct. And I'm still looking for that total number of books. So let's think about what my equation would look like. Remember, when I have multiplication, that X means what? That's right, it means groups of. So my equation is 3 groups of 8. And I'm going to get my total number of books. And that's what it has, 3 groups of 8. And I'm going to get my total number of books. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make an array. Now remember, an array is when I am going to have an equal number of rows and columns. So I'm going to make an array of 3 groups of 8. So here is a way I could make an array. So I have 3 groups. Here's group number 1, group number 2, and group number 3. There are going to be 8 in each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm trying to figure out the total number of books I have all together. So there's a couple of ways I could solve this. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So I could count every single book, and that's completely fine. Or maybe I know how to skip count by 3, so I could go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. Or maybe I can skip count by 8s, 8, 16, 24. Whichever way works for you is completely fine, because we always got to the number 24. I like to skip count by 8s. So I made little notes to myself. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I wrote down my 8 so I didn't forget where I was at. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget where I was at. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and I was done. So I know that Sally had 24 books in all. Let's try another example. Here's what this one says. Jessie has 6 bags of candy. Yay! There are 11 pieces of candy in each bag. How many pieces of candy does Jessie have altogether? Now, remember the very first step I have to do? That's right. I have to read the problem again, and I have to find all of that important information. So let's do that. Jessie has 6 bags of candy. That's important. There are 11 pieces of candy in each bag. That's also important, so I'm going to highlight it. How many pieces of candy does Jessie have altogether? That's what I'm looking for, so that's important to have. The first thing we're going to do now is I'm going to do my strip diagram. Now remember, a strip diagram is a visual to represent this problem. So let's think about this. How many bags of candy does Jessie have? That's right, he has 6. And how many pieces of candy are in each bag? If you said 11, you are correct. And what are we looking for? Yep, we're looking for how many pieces of candy he has altogether. So that's what my strip diagram is going to look like. So here is my strip diagram. You'll notice this one looks a little bit different, but it's the same. This one I have my total at the top. The last one I had my total at the bottom. But you know what? It's okay. They both show the same thing. So at the top, I'm going to have my total number of pieces of candy. Underneath, I have 6 bags. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there are 11 pieces in each bag. Now I'm going to write my equation. My equation helps me figure out how I'm going to solve this problem. And there's a few ways I could do it. I'm going to use multiplication. So I have 6 bags or 6 groups of, how many are in each one? That's right, there's 11. So 6 groups of 11, or 6 times 11, is going to give me my total number of pieces of candy. Now I'm going to make my array. Now remember, an array is a picture of rows and columns. So I'm going to have 6 rows with 11 in each row. So 6 times 11 is going to be my array. So here's all of Jessie's candy. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's my 6 rows. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in each row. Now remember, there's lots of different ways I can solve for this. I can count every single piece of candy, and that's completely fine. I also could skip count by 6s, or I could skip count by 11s, or I could use repeated addition. Whatever way works for you is completely fine. I am going to, I think I'm going to count, but I'm going to write down my number beside it after I finish each row so I don't forget where I'm at. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I'm going to write down the number 11. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And I'm going to write down the number 22. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. And I'm going to write down the number 33. 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. And I'm going to write down the number 44. 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. And I'm going to write down the number 55. 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66. And I'm going to write down the number 66. And that helps me in case I get lost on where I'm counting. Now, My question is, how many pieces of candy does Jessie have altogether? Well, we just figured that out because we were able to use our strip diagram and our equation and our array. So I know that Jessie has 66 pieces of candy. So let's review what we talked about today. Today we represented and solved one-step multiplication problems within 100, so our numbers were never bigger than 100, using arrays, strip diagrams, and equations. We did this by representing word problems with a strip diagram, an equation, an array, and then we solved for the problem using our strip diagram, array, and equation. And we did it because it's important to be able to visualize a word problem in many different ways. Now it's going to be your turn. You are going to be given 2 word problems, and you are going to represent and solve them. So I would like you to create a strip diagram, write the equation that goes with it, draw me an array, and then solve the problem. This is what your paper is going to look like. There are going to be 2 of them. So you're going to put your name at the top. You're going to read your word problem and find all of that important information. You're going to use that important information to make your strip diagram and write your equation. And then you're going to have all of this beautiful space to make me an array. Now remember, an array is whenever we use rows and columns. If you have any questions, please ask your teacher. I'll see you next week. Bye.